Welcome back, guys, to Project 15. We're on day 10 now, Genesis 11, and we are reading about the Tower of Babel.
Yes, so pause now and I'll read the passage.
G'day teenagers. Well, in the last episode, when we looked at the conclusion to the flood narrative, we recognized that God reset the relationship with humanity. After the flood narrative, God had protected Noah and his family, and it was through Noah and his family that he reset the relationship and creation was renewed. The same commission God had given to the first humans, Adam and Eve, to go out and multiply and be fruitful, He gives that same commission to Noah and his family. Go out, multiply, and be fruitful. But there is one tantalizing problem at the end of the flood narrative, and that is, despite the fact that God has judged the world, sin still continues through Noah and his descendants. Right after Noah and his family get off the ark, they begin to sin, and sin continues to spread as the population of humanity continues to grow. Now, in today's episode, we're looking at a famous story from the Bible called the Tower of Babel. And this is how the text begins in chapter 11. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. As people began to migrate to the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, or Babylonia, and settled there. They began saying to each other, "Let's make bricks and harden them with fire." In this region, bricks were used instead of stone, and tar was used for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world." Now, as we read Genesis chapter 11, we encounter some of the earliest human civilizations in the region of Mesopotamia, or in what was called ancient Sumer, which was a collection of different city-states in the region that we know today as the Middle East. We have these city-states coming together to build this great tower which reaches to the heavens. Now, it's important for us to know that this language, when we read some of the ancient texts of this part of the world during this time period, this language of building a tower which reaches to the heavens was obviously hyperbolic. You couldn't literally build a building which would reach to the skies. But the type of building which is being described here was called a ziggurat. A ziggurat was this ancient pyramid-type structure which had these massive steps, and you would ascend these massive steps, and on top of these steps was a platform. And the ancient people of this region believed that when you built this great ziggurat with these great steps and this big platform, they believed that the gods would come down onto this platform and dwell with the humanity. So what these ancient people of Babylonia, the region of Babel, were attempting to do was they were attempting to build this great temple in which the true God would come and live amongst humanity. Now, when you think back to our very first episode in Project 15, one of the things I mentioned was that, yes, we have this great planet which God has created, this great cosmos which He's created, but really the Bible is telling the story of how God has built this sacred space where humans can dwell and be in relationship with God. Now, what these people in ancient Babel were trying to do was build this great space, this great temple where they could be in relationship with God. But the mistake that they make is they're not doing it because they really want to be in relationship with God. They're doing it because they want to make their names great. They have evil and wicked ambitions. And the text goes on to say that God, in a mocking sense or in a joking sense, comes down to look at them and to see what they're doing. Remember, the purpose of them building this temple is they wanted God to come down to them. And what this story teaches us is ultimately this profound truth. The way for humans to be in relationship with God is something God has to initiate for himself. There is nothing that you and I can do which initiates a resetting and a reconciling to our relationship with God. Our sin separates us from God, and there is nothing that we can do. There is no human initiative which we can take to have that relationship restored. The people in Babel were trying to build this great temple, thinking that from their initiation, a project which they had begun, they assumed that that would rebuild the relationship with God. But the Bible teaches us that there is nothing that humans can do to restore the relationship which is broken between us and God. The reason why there's nothing we can do is because we are sinful. But what the Tower of Babel teaches us is that actually it is God who initiates the work of redemption in this world. God brings about this great plan to rebuild the temple so that you and I can be in relationship with Him. And this plan zeroes in and lands through the person of Jesus Christ. Because Jesus said that through His life and through His death at the cross and His resurrection, He was going to build the ultimate temple. Now, this temple is not a temple which is made using bricks and mortar or stone, as the people in Babel were trying to do. This temple is a temple which is a people group. It is a temple built by you and I. It's a temple which is made up with people like you and I, people who have put their trust in Jesus Christ. And as you notice in this episode, that the consequences of Babel means that the nations are now spread out and dispersed, and now there is no longer a common language. The main point here that we want to emphasize is that in Jesus Christ, after His death and resurrection, Jesus began a process of reversing the consequences of Babel. Now in Jesus, the world comes together. All of those from different nations who have put their trust in Jesus come together. And the Bible says that one day when Jesus returns, there will be the creation of a new heavens and a new earth, and people from every nation, tribe and language will worship Jesus for all eternity. So in Jesus, we have God extending the relationship to humanity. Instead of us building God's temple, it is something which God initiated through the life of Jesus. And in Jesus, these terrible consequences, this division of the world which happened as a byproduct of the wickedness in Genesis 11, is something which is reversed. These consequences are reversed in the life of Jesus and in what He did. Well, God bless you, teenagers. Let's go now into our time of prayer, and we'll see you next episode.